I started the recording. Hello, everyone.
Oh,
Hello. Okay. It's 1:02 p.m. I'd like to call the Nantucket Cultural Council meeting to order. Do I have a second?
yes. Second.
Perfect. Thank you. First order of business, I'd like to approve and or talk about the minutes for October 17th of the Nantucket Cultural Council. Has everyone had the opportunity to look over those minutes that Janet sent out earlier?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. I just had one amendment in that it said that I would create a poster or flyer. I don't have those skills to create a poster or a flyer, but I'd be happy to help distribute them and work on a social media with Ava on that. But
If you send me what's supposed to be on it, I can design a flyer. Do you know the dimensions you want?
We talked about like an 8x10, just a simple flyer that we can, just get around in town,
I have
pass
to
around.
apologize that we're expanding downstairs in the office here right now, so it's a little loud, but I'm gonna mute myself when I'm not talking. That's just 1 second. Okay. So an 8x10 flyer.
Well, Jordana, I think it's on our agenda today to discuss more about the ceremony. And so I think we can always change the details that I don't think those were too set in stone.
Perfect. Yeah. I just don't want to commit to, when I commit to something, I just can't. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Can I interrupt for a second? I have a Jay White in the waiting room. Since it's an open meeting, I should let them in, right?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. Okay, I think you can go ahead, Jordana.
Great. So I'd to talk about, like to approve the minutes from October 17th. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Perfect. Excellent. I lost the agenda. So sorry.
Oh, I think we also need to state our names that we're here.
Yes. Okay. Okay. President Jordana Fleischute, Chair, Nantucket Cultural Council.
Justin Cherney, member of Nantucket Cultural Council.
Tony Wagner, member.
Ava Rollins, member of Nantucket Cultural Council.
Michael Kopko, member.
Emma
Sorry, Emma.
Emma Young, member.
Janet Schulte, Director of Culture and Tourism Staff to the council.
Great. We do have a quorum, so we can move forward. Today, the main purpose of this meeting, we're going to review the award grants through the panel book that we've received through the Massachusetts Cultural Council. We are also going to plan the award ceremony and grant reception for April 20th, 2022, which is a Wednesday. And we talked about reviewing a possible logo or discussing a possible logo and moving forward with that conversation, as well as discussing future meeting dates and agenda items to be able to plan the event for April 2022. And then, of course, we leave room for public comment and then adjournment. So we've called this meeting to order. The review and of our granting process. I'd like to open up the conversation to I have a question, I guess. We've never had a member of the public. We usually go into executive session to discuss and review the award and grants. I asked the council how they would like to move forward in this position.
I would second a motion, or I would make a motion to go into executive.
I would second that.
Do we have any legal advice on that?
I do not.
I would certainly suggest that we know what we're doing in terms of open meeting laws and what we can and can't discuss in executive session. For example, I know that executive session agendas are required. So I'm not that comfortable going into executive session to discuss this without knowing the legality of the situation.
I can tell you that I've sat on panels to review proposals for things like concessions, and those have been open meetings and have been attended by the public, and we've had our discussions with the public present.
Okay.
I think we're always safer to do things publicly because that way we're erring on the side of transparency. So
Okay, great.
Yeah, that's true. And we're recording it. So I think it's public anyway, unless we stop the recording. And
Okay. Great. Okay, so we'll move forward with and review the grant awards.
I
Is
just
that-
want to make a note that I sent out the little cheat sheet, but I'm looking at it now and it's in a different order than the panel book. So Jordana, would you want to take the lead on like going through the order in which we talk about them?
Sure, absolutely. Let's. Again, I pose another question to the council. Would we like to follow the sheet that we had earlier, or we'd like to go in the order of the panel book as it is created for us?
I would vote to go through it as the panel book, since that's the information we've had longest.
Yeah, and that's also what I have. up on
Yeah,
the PDF document.
Perfect. Okay. Pull up my panel book. Sorry, guys.
and I'm happy to take notes on any kind of amounts we come up with as we're going through. And then at the end, we can review what we've jotted down.
I usually do that if you'd like me to.
Okay.
continue.
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks, Janet.
Jordana, can you just remind me of the amount that we have to grant our total?
Yeah,
Sure.
that's a great question. Thank you, Justin.
We have this.
9,500, Jordana?
Sounds correct. I'm sorry, I'm a little out of, Michael is in the hospital with COVID, so I'm not in a normal place where I'm usually am. So I apologize if I'm a little scattered. Let's see.
Would it be on the website? I can look at our page.
It is. I had it written down, of course, in my
Does
book.
anyone have the page up?
It said 5,000 on the page, but I understand that there was some from last year as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Thanks, Sarah.
while we're on the subject of last year, is there any sense of when those disbursements are going to go out?
So we have $9,293 for gifting. And the process of the awards, once they're given out, once we receive the paperwork back, they go into the town. The town has to sign off on them, then they send them into the state, and then the state provides the town to give the funding. So it is a 90-day process. Once it's in the hands of the town, all of the applications we've received have been turned over. So everything is in the state, as I understand it, according to and that's where we are. So and with COVID, it's kind of, and with this, a lot of things are changing in their office as well. This new website has taken a lot of resources. So things are a little slower than normal, but things are also getting back on track. Everyone's working really, really hard through the Massachusetts Cultural Council to get everybody back on track. So I would assume everything, they're trying to clear everything by the end of the year. So that is what hopefully will be done. Okay, let's start. We have $9,293 for gifting. And the first application that we want to discuss
Are we gonna go through a process of like go down the list and agree to discuss some and agree that some are probably not on the list? Just to
So,
save time.
so what we've done typically is we will go through, name the project, open up the project for discussion. If there is anyone on the council who believes this shouldn't go forward, for example, they're not working with someone in the community to provide this programming is a big, for off-island vendors, is a big criteria. And also looking at the impact is another criteria. So every application will be open for discussion. And at that point, we can choose to not fund this application and get a second. We can choose to discuss it further, and then we go back and discuss every application more in depth. Does that sound like a plan?
That's what you did last year. You had a general
Sounds
discussion
great.
and then you
Exactly.
made decisions about allocations.
Perfect. So that's what I'd like to do again. And our first application is from the senior citizen art class. And it's for tuition aid and exhibition. The project budget is $2,900 and the requested amount is $2,500. Would the council like to table this application or discuss it further?
I'd like to discuss it further. I think it's a good application, and we should probably consider some grant, but the amount obviously is something we're going to have to discuss. So I would suggest that we put it in the hopper for further discussion.
Perfect. Do I get a second?
agree. Second.
Perfect. Emma with a second. Great. So that application will be discussed further. Our second application is from the Cape Verdean. It's a Cape Verdean documentary, and it's from the Cape Cod Cape Verdean Museum and Cultural Center. The ask is for $750 of the projected budget, and the requested amount is $750. Would we like to discuss that or table it?
Discuss, please.
Yeah, I would like to consider funding for this one because they did talk about coming to Nantucket to interview some people here.
Perfect. Great. So that will be also further discussed. The third is the Nantucket Narwhal from Rebecca Chapa. The projected budget of this is $10,000 and the requested amount is $10,000.
I would discuss, since it's a local artist.
I agree. I'd like to second that. Perfect. The fourth application we have is called Living the Dream, The People Who Make Nantucket. It's from John Abolai, and the ask is, the projected budget is $500 and the requested amount is $500. Would we like to discuss this further or table this application?
Discuss.
Perfect. Do I
I
get a
would
second?
just, oh, sorry.
Was
Is
that
there
a
a
second
second?
memo or an interruption?
It was an interruption. Someone can second if they want.
Do I have a second of Living the Dream, The People Who Make Nantucket?
Second,
Second from Sarah. Perfect. Thank you.
I just wanted to note that I'm gonna refrain from voting on that one because John is a friend of mine.
Okay. Thank you. Cycle of Memory is the fifth application by Alex Leaf. The project amount is $2,000. Is $2,000. Would we like to discuss this further or table this?
Discuss.
I would, my opinion would be to skip it, or yeah, skip it because it doesn't have a Nantucket connection.
second,
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, there's value to all of these projects. They're inherently, but this project seems to me not to be very Nantucket specific or working with local organizations. So unfortunately, I would suggest that we pass on this one.
Okay, so we have a little bit of a division. Can I get a second to tabling this?
second,
Now, when you say table, is that a pass?
That means that we won't discuss it further.
Okay.
So like we won't fund it, or we will fund the full amount.
So what I believe, what I would like to do is go through the list, and anyone that we would like to discuss further. It's not about, I'm not looking at the amount they're asking for. I am looking at their total budget and in their application. If it's a big budget, I'm looking to make sure they can get some more funding. But I also know, if it's a Nantucket person and we give them funding, funding to make their thing happen. That being said, so when we're looking through these applications, we're deciphering if we want to discuss them further and or tabling them. Tabling them means that we do not want to discuss them further. And at this point, we are tabling discussion on that grant application. At the very end, of course, I will bring up if there's any applications that have been tabled we want to revisit. So it's a closed door, but it's not shut. Does that make sense?
Not really.
No, I hear what you're saying. I don't have a problem with making decisions as we go about passing or holding for further discussion.
Right, that's exactly what we're doing. And like I said, at the very end, if there's any of these applications that we have tabled that's gnawing on someone that they want to talk about further, there'll be a time and place to do that.
Okay, so would table be kind of like an initial pass?
Yes, basically an initial pass.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I'd make a motion to table this application.
I'll
Second.
second that.
Okay, perfect. So we're tabling the cycle of memory by Alex Leaf at this moment. The next application is application number 6. It's from Arts Light to Go, and its applicant is the Lower Cape Community Access Television Incorporation. The budget amount is $15,000 and the requested amount is $200. Do I have would the council like to discuss this further or would like to table this?
My notes, I have table. I'd move to table.
I second that.
Okay, great. So we're tabling the Arts and Light to Go Community Access Television Incorporation. Application number 6. Application number 7 is the duo pianist composers and educators, Whipple and Morales in concert. The application is from Marilyn Morales. The budget is $2,500 and the ask is $825. Do I have would the council like to discuss this further or would they like to table this application?
I have a question. Did they submit last year?
They did.
Yes.
Yes, and I mean, I think that the biggest thing is that we're not really sure where they intend to, I mean, it says on local access, but it doesn't specifically say, if I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. It doesn't specifically say on like NCTV or, so I'm not sure. I think it's it's a valid project, but I just don't see how it's directly related to Nantucket at all.
I think they'd be more successful if someone like NCMC came to us for a grant to have this program and stage it or something. But I would move to table this application because it's just from the artist from off island without any real plan on how to execute.
Yeah, I'd second that.
I did reach out to them last year because they were denied. And I did say that they are, encourage them to apply the next year and to work with a local organization to be able to facilitate their programming. So that was in their denial letter. And I agree with Justin and Michael, and that the strength of this application is working with the local organization that sponsors it. So I'm hearing that we'd like to table this application. Can I get a first or second?
Moved.
Second.
Moved. Okay. The application number 8 is from Stand Up and Learn from the Nantucket Comedy Festival. The project budget is $8,100 and the amount requested is $5,000.
I'd like to discuss this further. And just in the interest of transparency and full disclosure, they do hold this program here at our theater. There is no financial involvement with the theater at all. We don't charge them any rent. We don't receive any ticket fees or anything like that. It's a donation to them. So we're not involved with them financially. So I feel comfortable discussing and acting on this.
I will second that. I think this application. Number 9 is the Early Childhood Music and Movement. That's from the Nantucket Community Music Center. The budget for that is $2,064 and the amount requested is $1,500. Would we like to discuss this application further, or would we like to table this?
Yeah, I'd move to discuss it further.
I agree.
I'll second that.
Perfect. Thank you. The application will move on. Application.
Just a note that I'll obviously abstain from that discussion.
Thank you. Application number 10 is the Young Art Explorers. This is from the Nantucket Community Music, Nantucket Community. And the project budget for this is $1,460 and the amount requested is $1,460. Do I have a motion to discuss it further or to table this application?
I'd move to discuss further.
I second.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
And just, I believe there are 2 applications from the Artists Association, correct?
Well, this one is in collaboration with the Artists Association, yes.
Yeah, one is directly from the Artists Association. The other is the community school
Mhm.
Open Their project at the.
Well, okay, got you. Community school, yeah.
Okay, perfect. That application will move forward. Application number 11 is the Whaler Media from the Nantucket Community Television, NC 18. That budget is 17,435, and the ask is for 5,000. We did fund a similar program. They're really kicking up their game, and I think this is a worthy application.
I would
A
second that.
second.
Perfect. So application 11 will move forward. Application number 12 is from the Dreamland Stage Company, the production of The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane. This is from the Nantucket Dreamland Foundation. The budget is $24,500 and the ask is for $2,500. Would we like this application to bond or would we like to table it?
Further discussion?
Second.
Second, thank you. That application will move forward. Application number 13, designing the aircraft of the future. This has been submitted by the Nantucket Flying Association. The ask, $600 and the budget is $600.
I would
Um,
move to discuss. We've been funding them the past few years.
Second.
Excellent. Great. That application will move forward. Application number 14 is the Liza Show, episode number 2. It's from Elizabeth Obromsky, and the budget is $1,300 and the ask is for $1,000. Can I
Further
get
discussion?
for the motion to discuss it? Anyone, can I get a second?
Second.
Second, perfect. Application 15 is the Multicultural Awareness for Children. That's being written by Small Friends on Nantucket. The budget is $1,100. Award is $1,000. The ask, would we like to discuss it or would we like to table this?
I would move that we discuss it further. I think it sounds like a wonderful program.
Perfect. Can I get a second?
Second,
Excellent. The application will move forward. Application 16, the Nantucket Book Foundation Visiting Author Program. The ask, the budget is $10,850. The ask is $850. Can
I would,
Would we like to discuss it further for this application?
I would move that we discuss it further. It sounds really well thought out, and the 850 ask is a very small part of the budget.
I agree. Can I get a second?
second,
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. The application will move forward. Application 17, Costumes for a Christmas Carol, written by the Theater Workshop of Nantucket. The budget is $66,105. The ask is $2,000.
I'm going to recuse myself from this discussion and decision.
Okay, great.
I would move to discuss.
Great. Can I get a second?
Second.
Great. That application will move forward. Application 18 is the 2022 Nantucket Young Playwrights Festival offered by the White Heron Theater Company. The budget is $13,000 and the ask is for $1,000. Would
And
we
I'll
like,
also be recusing from this discussion.
we like to just further or would like to table this application?
I move that we discuss it further. It looks great.
Perfect.
Second.
Excellent. That application will move forward. Application 19, Songs and Stories, the Highwaymen. This is from Matt York. The ask is $650 and the budget is $650. Would we like to discuss this further or would we like to table this application?
I would move to table.
Second,
Perfect. Okay, that application will be tabled. Application 20, exploring creative reuse through sculpture. The applicant is Emma Young, and the budget is $360 and the ask is $360. Would we like to discuss this further, or would we like to table this application?
Move that we discuss it further, please.
Great. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you.
We'll be refraining from discussions unless there are questions.
Thank you. Okay, so we have the applications we will be discussing further. The first is the senior citizen art class, which gives tuition aid and provides exhibition for the Artists Association of Nantucket. Any questions, comments, concerns on the application? They are at, okay,
I'm not sure that we can fund the entire ask, given the pot that we're dealing with, but it's a great program and I'd like to see us support it in some way.
I think one other comment was it looked like last year you funded about 3/4 of the program, or of the ask, I should say. And I think the program still went forward. I don't know if that's a consideration for this year as well.
perfect.
A comment I'd add is that it's really one of the only, if not the only one of the applications that target specifically senior citizens.
I agree with Tony on that one, which is, yeah, dear to my heart, at least personally, so.
I
Being a
agree.
Citizen, it's dear to my heart too.
Yeah, I think they've had a lot of success with this in the past. And I think it would be good to discuss maybe at the end what kind of amount we have in our budget, but definitely something.
They definitely have a proven program, and they tweak it every year. They just notch it up just a little bit more. And they have great success, and I think it's really important that our seniors have an art creative outlet available to them. And I think it's a great program. Looking
Also, if I just want to make a comment of in general too, a lot of these organizations obviously have other sources of funding, some of them significant sources of funding, but I think that even if we offer something, it shows support for the kind of programming that we're doing. So even if we can only offer, a token to some of these programs, showing support for what they do, I think is as important as the money that we're giving.
Yeah, can I just piggyback on that really quick? Because I think that's an important thing as we're going through these, because we don't have, we have a small pot to deal with. And I do think that in terms of growing the cultural council, I think the more places that we do appear as a supporter, I think that also just is going to help visibility for us, and in turn for the organizations or people that are grantees.
I agree. I think that the more we can provide impact with our dollars, the better, everybody will be. But looking at their budget, what we can fund and what we can't fund. So we can fund professional artists. We can fund supplies and materials. We cannot fund marketing and promotion. We cannot fund administrative. So that's $300 that should come off that ask.
I'm sorry, is that 350 or 300?
Let's see, 350. Thank you, Sarah. That 350, but the rest is completely fundable.
So maybe we could make a note that the maximum would be 2,550.
Yes.
Is that right?
We're asking 2,500.
Oh,
So
sorry. I was looking at
Yep.
the full budget.
2,150 would be the maximum.
Yep. Perfect. Great. So we all agree that is a viable project. So all the viable projects that we really want to fund will also go into a pile, and then we will see how much money we have at the end of the pile.
May I just ask a question? Maybe I'm not following. Their ask is 2,500 and we can fund up to 2,550. So is their ask not still 2,500?
No, we can only fund up to 2150.
Their budget,
Right?
Yeah, it's kind of confusing because the salaries and fees is 2,100 and supplies is 450,
Oh, yeah, so, yeah, you're right.
but they asked for 2,500.
So we could potentially give them the whole 25.
That was my understanding. I don't know.
I think we could. I think you're right, Sarah.
Good point, Sarah.
excellent. So their ask is for 2,500, and they don't have any encumbering administrative or marketing funds that would lessen that amount. So, okay, great. So that will be in our pile for funding. Anyone have any other information, objections, anything they want to talk about with this application?
Last year you took a vote after each discussion to move it forward.
Yes. Thank you, Janet. Would we like to move this application forward? May I have a vote on that? Can I get a
Yes.
first?
The first,
And can I get a? Thank you. Our next application is from the Cape. Just up here. It's from the Cape Cod Cape Verdean Museum and Cultural Center. The requested amount is for $750. It's a humanities project. It will take place in 2022 and feature people throughout the Cape and the islands, including Nantucket. The estimate reach is 1,500 people, 50,000 people. Would anyone like to discuss this application further?
I liked that they mentioned coming to Nantucket. I think that because we do have a large Cape Verdean population, it is relevant. But it might not be quite specific enough. Like if we gave them the money, I don't know that we could like stipulate that they have to include Nantucket or they have to have a showing on Nantucket. So I'm kind of on the fence with this one.
I also think, yeah, sorry, Tony, I also think that, I mean, we have a lot of just Nantucket-based, like, or, you know, organizations and individuals on this list already. So I think it's, I mean, I think if we come around and find that we had money left over, this would be one to discuss further, but really it seems like to me it might be a, it might not be something that we fund this year.
I'd like to go back to my previous comment about supporting the idea, even if it's a sort of token amount. Obviously, it's better late than never for all of these sort of equity, diversity, and inclusion projects. And if we can find a way, it sounds like the projects going forward, regardless of whether they get any money from us, but even if we granted a token amount to them, I think it would be, it's important to show support for the Cape Verdean community on the island, and I think this could be a way to do that.
I also just wanted to mention in their application, it talks about them showing it in various libraries, and I'm certain that we could, you know, ask, especially whether or not they end up interviewing individuals here. It is part of our Cape Verdean heritage. out here, and I'm certain that I can't speak for the Athenaeum, but someone there was talking about a Cape Verdean interest the other day, so I don't know.
I think sometimes, like usually if we deny it the funding, we send them a letter. And like Jordana mentioned in the music group, the Whipple, in the last year, she had said like it's a valid proposal, but it doesn't quite fit our guidelines. And if you came back next year with a specific location, like I think we could write in the denial letter, if the film is complete and you come back with like an agreement with the Athenaeum to have a showing of it, we would consider it for next year. So I think that would be my advice, would be to deny the funding, but encourage them to reapply with a specific screening.
I disagree a little bit. I tend to I like this new application. And I do agree with what you say about the Athenaeum, absolutely, but I do think that's an easy fit, especially with the diversity piece and being a new application that we've never had that does have Nantucket ties to it. I would like to fund this a little bit.
And I think in terms of, finding a place to screen a film or things like that, those are things that we can actually help out with a little legwork, even if it's not money, but helping maybe if it doesn't fit with the Athenaeum, maybe the Dreamland, or maybe we can screen it here or at Bennett Hall or somewhere. It's the kind of thing that I'd really like to, as we say in theater, make the up choice and show some support for a project like this. I think the community would be very pleased to see us doing that with their money too.
I have one question, if I may ask, Jordana. I understand that there's something called conditional approvals, and would that, finding a place to show that here, would that fall under conditional approval as opposed to recommending that they try again next year?
Yes. I mean, the funding would be based on that, that they have that showing. They don't have that showing. I mean,
Okay.
they can't ask for the money if they don't have the showing. And then that goes into a pot that we give away to somebody else next year.
Got it. Thank you.
So we've had a lot of discussion on this application. Let's look at the budget. We have salaries and fees, $250. We have some administrative costs in here, which we can't fund, which is $210. We have production and technical costs. We can fund that. And supplies and materials, we can fund that. So in this application, as it stands right now, there's $210 that's unfundable, which, and it's, I believe it's $750 ask.
And if we funded half of their ask, like 375, I think that would be a significant thing to do by way of showing support, and it essentially funds half of their budget. So I hope that we would consider something along those lines.
Yeah, I think also down at the bottom, it says the other cultural councils. So it looks like they asked Falmouth, Brewster, and Mashpee. So like maybe we could estimate, like if we think that, so that's 4, if we think that 2 out of 4 would approve it, we could give them half or something like that.
I think their entire budget is larger than 750.
But I think it's just for this portion of the project is what they're talking about.
Right. Yeah, because they're gonna film a period of footage. Okay, so would we like to just put this in the funding pile? Or put this in the other pile?
I'd move that we put it in the funding pile.
Can I get a
Second,
second? Perfect. Great. And again, they have a $750 ask, $210 of that is ineligible. So the max they can be funded is $540 at this point. All right, our next application up for discussion. I'd like to get a vote to move on that application.
This is for the
This is for
Cape
the Cape
Verdean
Verdean.
film.
Yes, I just need a vote to move forward.
so moved.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Perfect. Great. The next application up for discussion comes from Rebecca Chapa.
You need to figure out who's in favor and who isn't for the minutes. At least a number count.
Yep. Having sat in your chair a number of times, Jordana, I can give you a really quick and easy way to take a vote on something like this, which is to get a first and a second, and then ask if there are any objections.
Okay, great.
I have a first, I have a second. Any objections? Seeing none, the vote's carried.
Great.
That'll get you
Okay.
through quick.
May I get a first on the Cape Verdean application, please, on accepting that for funding?
Go ahead,
So moved.
Sarah.
So moved.
Can I
Second.
get a second?
Yep, second.
And is there anyone who
Any objections?
any objections? Sorry. Anyone? Okay, we'll move on to application number 3, which comes from Rebecca Chapa. She's requested $10,000. It's a literature project entitled The Nantucket Narwhal, and it will take place during 2021 to 2022. It is estimated to impact 1,500 people, and it does primarily serve school children pre-K to 12. I open up discussion on this application.
One question that I have is looking at the budget, or shall I wait for that? I'm sorry.
No, absolutely. If you want to discuss that.
The marketing and promotion, we would not cover that. Is that correct? Automatically?
That is correct.
Okay.
I like that this is a new applicant and it's a local artist. It's obviously a huge ask. But I think it could be beneficial to fund some of it just to promote local artists, especially in literature. I haven't seen very many in the past for writers.
I like this application. I like how it's geared to kids. I like how it talks about climate change and how it's specific to Nantucket. I do know the author personally, and she is going to be selling the book for $18.95. So I think there's an opportunity to recoup some costs in her budget through that. But it is a project I would like to fund.
I only have one question about this project, which was, I agree with all of the positives that are being mentioned. My question was, it doesn't seem to me that there's any other funding that's been applied for. Is that correct? No other cultural councils, not necessarily, or other type of funding?
Yeah, it doesn't say that she has any other funding or any, at this point.
Okay,
But again, it, it could be conditional on, the book being published.
okay.
I noticed that when asked like if you don't get the funding, what would you do? And she mentions doing an online version. So I think like a way to consider the funding would be to look at a portion of the salary, because obviously she would need some money for some time to write it, or like the supplies, but maybe not like the digitizing or the layout and digitization, because if it's just an online thing, she might not need that funding. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree with him. My hesitation here is using our grant resources to pay for the production of something that will then be sold. I have some hesitation there. I think it's the production of it is a good project, the writing of it and all that, but not the actual production of the product.
Yeah, so I would say like we could automatically remove 5,240 from consideration, because that would be the printing cost,
Right.
if that makes sense. And consider the 3,500 as like something that would be like maybe our max funding for it.
The thing that I'm concerned about is it's a big ask and a big budget. And if we get to the point where we can really only fund, $1,000, is that going to get her anywhere where she needs to be to get the project off the ground? And if not, is that just sort of throwing $1,000 back into the pile next time and wondering, that's my concern. Is I'm not sure we can fund enough to get the thing off the ground. And she hasn't shown any other resources to help get the project off the ground. So
What can you talk again about how that like the Ava asked about it, like the conditional?
So
Granting.
no money is given until a project's completed. Those are the rules of our funding, our granting. So if we fund an application that's not able to be carried out within a year, they lose that funding unless they communicate with the council. Like during COVID, there was a lot of applicants that just couldn't carry out their programming because it just wasn't possible. So those applications got put over. And sometimes you'll have, weird things will happen. But all the grants we give are conditional. The thing is that we only have this pot of money. So if we give it to one applicant and they don't come through with their programming, we're essentially taking away from something else that maybe could have been a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
But I like that we're looking at every aspect of bringing this project to fruition. With this one, it looks like she's doing a lot of the work. So a lot of the compensation will fall to her. So I think it's a big budget, but I think if you take it apart, like the $675,
it looks like her minimum to get the project off the ground is $41.75, which is her time to put the project together and getting professional help to get it online in a manner that's meaningful. And like I said, all of these applications are valuable things to have. And Rebecca's a very conscientious person. But again, if we gave her $1,000 or $2,000, and it looks like it's a minimum of $4,200 to get the project done, and there's no identified other source of funding, are we asking for a problem? I'm just trying to be clinical here about it. It's
Can
not
I
that don't love
motion
the
that
project.
we,
And that
move-
4,200 comes from adding the salaries and the fees to the salaries and the fees and leaving
Yes.
out the production? Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
could I motion that we move this discussion to later and then relook at it when we have more of an idea of how much money we have left?
Great idea. I second that.
Any objections to that? All right, so moved. Okay, we will discuss that at the end of discussing the other applications. So our next application is from John Abolai. The amount requested is 500. It's a media arts program. It's called Living in a Dream, The People Who Make Nantucket. Will take place of spring of 2022. 300 people will be served. School children are not primarily the audience for this. And it's a comedic documentary featuring faces of Nantucket. Do I have, I open the floor for discussion on this project.
it's an interesting project. He's a talented person. I note that most of the ask is for purchasing equipment. Just by way of reference. I kind of was hoping to see something about the a sort of equity and diversity and inclusive aspect of the Nantucket community in this application. But I think it's an interesting project and a small ask.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think my one question is exactly that is if we have any prohibitions on funding equipment purchases, or as we as a council is our sense that we like to fund more the activity and participation rather than this. But I don't have an opinion on that strong one, and so that's more just a conversation I'd love to have.
That is a great, I tend to agree. Well, I mean, when it goes to an organization, it's one thing, because I know that the organization will use that equipment. But this is a private application. He is from Nantucket, so I hope he would do more things on Nantucket with that, with the equipment. My question is, would these same facilities or opportunities be available to use at NC-18 if he had a membership?
That's exactly what I was about to say next. It is all available for renting, or with membership, you can get it from them.
So, and I know maybe we could fund a membership for him and he could utilize another nonprofit and help. Two people would benefit from this. Well, more than two people, two organizations. He would benefit, and NC-18 could open, then the equipment is, if it went to them, it's a little bit different because they're a nonprofit and they're going to let other people use it as they do if you have a membership. So I'd like more discussion on this application.
Looks like there's sort of $182 worth of non-marketing, non-equipment purchase in the budget. So maybe, again, by way of showing support for the project, we could fund some small amount.
I think that's right. And I did just take a quick, I love the idea of the NCTV. In the letter, I could recommend, membership there. And I think it's like $70 a year, something like that.
And that's totally fundable.
And he could use that membership for all kinds of cool stuff.
Exactly. Plus you have the know-how of people, who, help you get to the next level. If you're into filmmaking, like that's what they do. So I think that's, I think that's kind of cool. Any more discussion on this application? Would we like to
Oh,
move this-
hold for funding amount?
So I have Michael would like to move it to a vote to put it in the pile for and wait for a funding amount. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any objections? Okay, so moved.
I don't object, but I have
Okay.
to abstain, so I don't approve either.
Okay, thank you. Emma does have a small conflict of interest with this application. Thank you for noting that, Emma. Okay, the cycle of memory, we are not funding. That went to the table position.
You should still take a vote.
On application number 6, I have from Alex Leff, the amount requested is $2,000. The project title is Cycle of Memory. The council voted in the first round to table this application. I'd like a vote to table the application and or any objections on this application.
I'd like to move that we pass on funding this application this year.
Thank you. Do I have a second to that?
A second.
Any objections? So moved. Our next application for discussion comes from the Lower Cape Cod Community Access Television from Janet Coate. The amount requested is $200. The name of the project is Arts Light to Go, and it will take place in 2022. The council voted to table this application. Do I have a vote to table or any objections?
I'd like to move that we pass on funding this application for this year.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. The application has been tabled. Our next application comes from Marilyn Morales for $825. It is a music discipline. The ask, I'm sorry. That I'm fitting. Arts and Light to Go, I'm sorry about that. Estimated number of people served, 200,000. We voted to table this application. Do I have a vote to table it or to any objections?
I'm feeling like Scrooge here, but I'd like to make a motion that we pass on this application for this year.
Second,
Great. So moved, that application has been tabled. Okay. Next. Okay, our next application is from Marilyn Morales. The ask is $825, and it's a duo piano composer and educators, Whipples and Morales in concert. This is to take place virtually on local access, and the estimated number of people served is 1,000. The council did vote to table this in the first round. can I get a vote to table it and or any objections?
All right, I'll move to pass on this application for this year.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Our next application comes from Stand Up and Learn. The amount requested is $5,000. It is a theater project. It will take place at the White Heron Theater. 100 people will be served, and yes, it does serve our primary school children. We did vote to discuss this application further. Do I have discussion on this application?
I'm happy
Definitely.
to start the discussion. Having seen this program up close and personal a lot, I can tell you it's very effective. It's great for the kids. It helps them build self-esteem and collegiality. Their families are very positively affected by the program. So whatever, obviously I don't think we can fund $5,000, but I think it would be a good idea to put it in the hopper at the end there, to do the math and see what we can do to help them out.
I agree. I also think that I love that this is not necessarily all performance-based. There's just a lot of, having seen it, in action as well. I love that it's not product-based, that it's an experience. And I think that's really important.
They'll be in here this afternoon doing their class.
I agree with exactly what Justin just said. When I go through the list, anything that is participant as opposed to product is participatory as opposed to product is always on my list of good fundable projects.
Yep. My son started in the very beginning of this project, and I can tell you it's made a lifelong impact in his life, and what I'm super grateful for. So I think it's a great project.
May I just ask one comment that I had that I'd noticed in terms of some of the extended grants for last year is conditional approval based on access for seniors or the disabled when it comes to performances. I didn't know if that was something that the rest of the council felt was important or worth saying.
Absolutely. I think it's very important. And it is, I think, we can't do enough to reiterate that. So I agree. And thank you for bringing that up.
And we, just for the record, the performances are free. They our theater is accessible, and we co-market with them and try and get as many people to come to them as possible. So it's been really successful that way.
Perfect. And again, looking at their budget, they have some marketing money in here, $2,000 we can't fund that. And travel, we really don't fund. So 3,500 is kind of if you take that out, that would be what they would be available to be funded at. So I would like a vote to further discuss this application for funding, move it to the funding pile. May I get a first?
First.
Second?
Second.
Any objections? Okay, great. We're going to move this application to the funding pile. Our next application comes from the Nantucket Community Music Center. It is a request for $1,500. It is under the the discipline of music. It will take place January to March of 2022 at the NCMC. There'll be 40 people served, and it will serve primarily school children, pre-K to 12. I open up discussion on this application.
I love that this is bilingual.
Yes.
I think that, we definitely need to consider funding this. And I just like that I like that the music center, the NCMC is using their space creatively.
I agree, and I just wanted to say that I appreciate that it's also about movement, which I think is so important, not just the musical aspect, but incorporating some type of healthy activities for the winter months and getting those kids grooving. It sounds great to me.
I think we can, certainly, it sounds like we're inclined to fund this to some extent anyway. So I would move that we put it in the funding pile to discuss when we talk about math.
I second that.
Great. Any objections to this?
I do have to abstain from voting.
Thank you, Tony. So we have a first and a second and no objections. We will move on this application and put it in the funding pile. Okay, our next application is from Nantucket Community Television.
No, it's the one before that, community school.
Yeah, Art Explorers.
Sorry. Nantucket Community School. Okay, the amount requested is $1,460. It's for Young Art Explorers. The sessions will take place on Wednesdays from 9:30 to 10:30 over a 6-week period from January 10th to February 14th. And the class will be held at the Artists Association of Nantucket on Amelia Drive. The number of people served will be 20. And the program does primarily serve grades pre-K to 12. And there'll be eight youths served approximately. I open up discussion on this application.
I'm not sure I understand exactly what the program is. I'm wondering if anybody could clarify that for me. I'm sorry if I don't understand the 20 and then the 8 and then, yeah, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm missing something that's right there in front of me.
I'm assuming the 20 is that there'll be
Parents.
Yeah, parents, 8 kids and some number of parents involved.
And is it completely free if we were to fund it? Like, just say we were to fund it
Yes.
completely,
Yep.
that would be free
Yes.
for the students, right? Okay.
Yes.
We're also going to reach out to the Hispanic community to recruit families from that population.
Great.
Yeah, I saw that. Looked great.
Yeah, I like how this is really diversified and being offered to all elements of our population.
Move that we put it on the funding pile.
Second.
Second,
Any objections? So is moved. This application will go to the funding pile. Our next application comes from Nantucket Community Television. The amount requested is $5,000. It's for a media arts project called Whaler Media. It will take place November 2021 to March 2022 and will happen at the NCTV Media Center at Bayberry Court. Estimated number of people served is 7,000. It will primarily serve school children. Would anyone like to discuss this application further?
I just wanted to mention that I was particularly interested in it since it deals with concerns about substance abuse and mental health, both of which are obviously very important in our community, and that they specifically cited NAMI and ASAP and everything. So it's not just a general thought, but something that they mentioned and put forth in the additional materials that they supplied to us.
This is a great program. They have a lot of sources for funding. So I know that, whatever amount that we fund and show support for the program, that they'll be able to do the program and fund it. So I would move that we put it on the funding pile.
I
I
second that.
agree. I would also add that the application is just really well done. They have like a lot of really great details. Especially like they talk about they mentioned specifically the other grants they've applied for and their collaborations. So I think they did a really good job with this.
Agreed. So I have a first. May I get a first on this, please?
Yep, move that we put it on the funding pile.
Thank you. And a second?
Second,
Perfect. Okay, any objections? This application will be moved to the funding pile. Our next application comes from the Nantucket Dreamland Foundation. Their amount requested is $2,500. This is from the discipline of theater. It will take place in spring of 2022. And the project will take place at the Nantucket Dreamland and local schools. The estimated number served is 2,500 people. This will primarily serve school children. I open up the project for discussion.
I think this is great. They've done really good work in the past with these shows that are specifically kind of educational. I'm just looking at like their ask was 2,500 and in their budget, 2,500 is the amount for marketing. So I'm not sure if they were trying to get the funding for that or if they would be fine for it to just go towards the salaries and the supplies and stuff.
And I'm going to refrain from conversation. My son is employed by the Dreamland, so I have a conflict of interest.
Yeah, they have $22,000 worth of eligible expenses. So I don't think their ask is out of line.
Okay.
I love that they go into the schools. I would have liked to have seen something about bilingualism in this and reaching out to that community. The elementary school, I believe, is 30% Spanish speaking students. And I think it's a good program and we should put it in the funding pile. Again, they're an organization that has many resources for funding. So my sense is that whatever we allocate to them, they'll be able to get the program off the ground. So I think we should probably put it on the funding pile.
I agree. I also think that they, last year, this is a very specific application. Last year, their application was vague, and I remember we passed on it. But I think that they just did a really nice job of specificity. So I move. I don't know. Did you move, Michael? Should
I'll
I
make a
second
motion
that?
to put it on the funding pile, sure.
Okay, I'll second that.
Any objections?
And it's all about math.
So is moved. So that application will go into the funding pile. Our next application comes from the Nantucket Flying Association Youth Aviation Camp. The project of the title is called Designing the Aircraft of the Future. The number of people served will be 1,000. It will primarily be targeted to school children. Total number of youth served will be 40. I open this project up for discussion.
I'm on the fence on this project. I think it's a great concept and a great idea, but they're already charging $595 per participant. And so I just have a hard time when the cost to participate is already so high, unless it was going towards some kind of like scholarship or something, which it's not in the budget. And that was my initial thought when reading it. I do think the idea is right, and I think it's a great project.
I think, yeah, I hear your concerns. I love this project because it marries art with what they're doing with the flying. And I think my sense is that a lot of the tuition has to do with, they get like a flying lesson, and, there are expenses that are significant about all that stuff, and that this is just for the art portion of the program. So I'm inclined to support putting it in the funding pile at this point. And I think it also reaches kids that maybe aren't theater kids and aren't, art association kids and NCNC kids. So it reaches kids that maybe we wouldn't be reaching otherwise.
I agree with that. And I also actually like the idea of the public display at the airport, because it's also showcasing Nantucket youth to visitors.
I love every summer seeing the art in the airport.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
do, they do. Oh, sorry, Sarah.
No, I was just gonna say, I completely agree. I think the public exposure, both as a viewer and as an artist, is a wonderful thing to see at our airport, so.
I also think, don't they say in the application somewhere that there's something about full year-round Nantucket students are eligible for financial aid. So I think they do offer, I'm not saying the wording, that's not how it's
Yeah,
worded,
it's
close to that.
Yeah, that's right. They do say
where it
that.
says the tuition, it says all year round residents are eligible for financial aid.
Mhm.
It also says down below that other monies that the Flying Association will raise are targeted for other activities. So I think that was a valid concern, Tony, but I think that my guess is that this is a little bit separate.
Yep. And you've already everybody's already swayed my mind anyway.
I'll motion to add to the funding pile.
Can I get a vote? So Emma, is that a first? Perfect. Can I get a second?
Second,
Great. Any objections? So is moved. That application will move forward to the funding pile. Our next application comes from Elizabeth Obremski. She's requested $1,000. The discipline is media arts, and this is for the Liza show, episode number 2, taking place November 2021 and on. This project will take place on Nantucket, YouTube, thelizashow.com, online. 1,000 people will be served. It does primarily serve school children, and 1,000 youth will be served. Can I get, would we like to discuss this application?
didn't we have an issue last year with Liz's application? We ended up funding it, but it had to come back for something, and
I can
So-
speak to that if you want.
Okay.
So she last year applied under her nonprofit, the Out to Sea Foundation, but she's no longer working with that. So now I believe she's applying as an independent artist now.
and
Correct.
do you recall what we granted last year for her?
So
It's 1,000.
last year, yep, last year we gave out to see 1,000, and then we transferred that to her when she went out on her own, the same $1,000.
I would move to add this to the funding pile and we can discuss how much later.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any objections? So is moved. That application moves to the funding pile. Our next application comes from Small Friends on Nantucket. Jackie O'Grady is the primary contact. $1,000 is the request. It's a multidisciplinary discipline. And it's titled Multicultural Awareness for Children. It will take place January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022 at their campus, 21 Nobodere Farm Road. It will affect 47 people, primarily school children, and 33 youth will be served.
I believe we funded the training for this, and then it looks like now they're looking for kind of the supplies to implement that training. And I would go back to the discussion about whether we want to fund like equipment. This is a little different than the other one because these look like kind of specific to the training they've already done.
Can I just ask, I'm sorry, Emma, when did you fund that? Because I didn't find anything in last year's in the Excel that Ava had put together.
Okay, yeah, I mean, if anyone knows, I remember it being an application, but I don't recall if we did fund it or not.
We funded a music program for them.
But
Movement
do you
and youth-
recall that I recall that they did apply for some kind of cultural training. Does anyone else remember that?
That sounds familiar, Emma, but I don't remember.
We must not have funded it if it's not in the past documents.
Unless it
could-
was like 20, unless it was 2019.
It could have been 2019. We could always pause and I could check the website. I mean, not pause, but like put this on the back burner.
Is there any way, I mean, because when you look at the supplies and you read about what the program is, it's actually, it sounds really interesting and intriguing to me and important, and, you know, insert word, but I wish it was for, I wish there was a way there was more, there was a way more people could participate. I mean, I realize it's, you know, for small friends, but it just, because I just wonder, once they have the supplies and they've had the training, could it not be offered? I mean, if, you know, I don't know. That seems like that's a different, probably grant altogether, but.
My imagining is that once they secure these supplies, they'll continue to use them and implement them for all their students. So
Mhm.
I see it having like a future benefit.
Yeah, I mean, they say, that it would outlive.
I also like that partial funding in this case clearly lets the project move forward, because it would force selection of, you know, which materials they actually want to get, but at least any of the materials would make a difference.
Well,
Yeah.
I was kind of taken aback by her response about, if we can't fund the entire amount, she says we won't be able to do the program. I think if I'd been advising her on making her application, I might have answered that question differently. But it sounds like they've got $202 for supplies. Do they have $502 for supplies? And, you know, I just thought that was unusual that she answered that question that way.
Yeah, well, I think what most, you know, I think their ask is 1,000. They're going to cover 202. And I think, you know, because it's supplies and materials, I think they'll purchase whatever they have the funds to purchase, and then they'll write another grant next year to us or to somebody else and ask for the rest of it. I think they're slowly building their program, and I love the multicultural and the diversity that is, you know, I think it's imperative in the schools and everything we do. So I like it. And I like that it's equipment that will have a life beyond just this funding process. It's serious hardcore equipment that they'll be able to use. I'm not sure how long, but for more than this funding cycle, for sure.
I agree. I think it's a great program, but it's you know, the fact that she said we will not be able to implement our program without this funding. I'm taking her at her word there, that if they don't get the funding, they won't. If they only get part of the funding, they won't use it to do this. They'll put the program off, which is what she's saying. But, you know, we can read between the lines, I guess.
I kind of tend to agree with Michael on this, because, I mean, also we have a list of things to fund already, but I mean, to just put blatantly, or very plainly there, this isn't going to happen if we don't get all the funding. I mean, again, that's, as someone earlier said, that's taking money away from another potential project that would see the light of day.
Yeah, this is tough because the way they're phrasing it is saying that it's kind of all or nothing. And I think we could put it in the pile, but I don't see us having the budget to give them their full ask with the amount of other projects that we have to fund this year. And so it doesn't even seem like it would be worth it to give them partial funding because they're saying that that won't be helpful to them.
Does the application indicate what the distribution of the population is at Small Friends in terms of racial diversity?
It just mentions that it is a diverse group, Janet, and I don't believe that it gives you any sort of breakdown in terms of the demographics.
And they are the very little ones out there.
These are the little ones. These are 3 months to 5 years.
Yeah.
I think the tuition is not inexpensive at Small Friends.
No,
What
it's
that's worth.
I'm inclined to maybe check with them and see, like, because they broke it down in their budget for all the different types. So like they're saying all or nothing, but at the same time they have different amounts. So like,
right.
Would some of them be helpful? Because I think I wouldn't like to just be like, oh, well, we don't have enough for all of it, so you don't get any, but they kind of are with this application. It's kind of like they're putting us in that position.
My only comment is I think sometimes, at least through working with artists myself who are seeking grants and stuff, sometimes it's a style issue and people don't necessarily answer things in the most gracious way. Or I agree with Emma that it's worth asking them if it's possible to ask them if some portion, and I'm agreeing with Michael, if some portion of this could be used, or if it truly is that they just will have to cancel the entire program.
Okay, so I could reach out. I can try to give Jackie a call right now. These are the options. I can try to give Jackie a call right now. If we decide to keep any application open, we cannot make final funding decisions today. I can ask her for clarity if that's what the council would like. I can take a moment right now and give her a call.
We wait and see if we have budget for it once we get to the math part.
So would you like to put it in the funding pile?
I'm
I
not
would
sure.
so move.
So I have a first, I'm moving it to the funding pile. Do I have a second?
I'll second it, presuming that we're going to have further discussion when the funding
Absolutely.
gets discussed.
Any objections? Okay, that has been moved to the funding pile. And we'll move forward with the next application. Which comes from the Nantucket Book Foundation.
I was sad to see on this, after your mention of not being able to fund travel in any sense, that it seems that that's specifically the line item that they're asking for funding for.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I agree. That puts us in kind of a strange position. Although they don't say necessarily that they have acquired the money for the speaker's fee.
They've got a pretty strong budget and source of funding for that book foundation.
Absolutely. I think that, I tend to agree with Janet that, they just like our participation and they like that we're involved, but the monetary impact we're able to make is a little bit different. So, because that's more than our whole budget. So, but the ask is $850, which is very reasonable.
So for example, if we granted them the $850 and for their reimbursement, it was for airfare, is it something we just don't really like to do, or is it something we can't do?
Technically, I mean, because we're an island, yes, but there's usually other places we can put our money. Like we would put our money into the salaries for the artists. That's what we can put our money into. We can put our money into that $10,000 chunk, not into the $850 chunk.
They can show that the 850 went to the salary. I mean, that's not,
Yeah,
that's
Oh,
all,
that's
that's
true.
all bookkeeping and fungibility with them. So
Mhm.
I don't think that's really the issue. Are they a
so in-
nonprofit?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they are.
So in that
Mhm.
case, we could give them some funding.
Absolutely. I can't earmark it for travel and transportation. If they're gonna put whatever they want to put it, but they have a big $10,000 chunk they could donate that, any money to, if that makes sense.
I
Yeah,
think it would
move
be,
that we put it on the funding pile, actually.
yeah, I'll second that.
Any objections? So move that application will go to the funding pile. Our next application comes from the Theater Workshop of Nantucket.
I'm
I
going
need
to
to
recuse from this one here.
I
Pardon me?
need to recuse myself.
Okay,
I'm also
Uh,
going to recuse.
okay. So recusing from this discussion is Michael and Justin. This application requests $2,000. The discipline is opera, musical theater, and the title is for costumes for a Christmas Carol. Will take place December 2022. Theater Workshop estimated people is 1,200. Tickets will be sold. Children's tickets are $40 and adult tickets are $68. And Justin, you did say that there is tickets available for seniors in need through your outreach. Is that correct?
No, not as of, we lost that grant 3 years ago. So we don't have a senior ticket price.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm not a formal one. That's not to say there's not a discount that might happen, but there's not a formal one to
Okay.
attach to this.
I'm always in favor of local theater. I think I like that they specifically are asking for costuming. And I like that they say that they anticipate 53,000 in ticket sales. So we kind of know that they do still need some money that they're not going to be able to cover. I would send it to the funding.
Yeah, I'd second that with the note that I think a strength of the application is having local children, local actors participating alongside professionals. So kind of an advancement almost in, I think that's the strength in here.
and I would agree. My only concern again is just to make sure that there are discounted tickets for seniors and possibly complimentary ones for people who go to Saltmarsh or Homestead, and maybe for emphasize some outreach to Fairwinds or someplace like that for lesser income folk.
Excellent. Any more discussion on this application? Do I have a first to move it to the funding pile?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Perfect. Okay, that will be moved to the funding pile. Any objections? Justin, what was the name of, was that the Tuppence C. Harris grant that you got for seniors?
Yeah, sorry, let me turn my video back on. Yeah, it was, and they just decided they didn't want to fund that. Their hope had been that that would just become something that was ingrained in the organization. And I mean, it's an entire matinee of 130 seats, which comes out to, well, at 70, about $9,000. And we've tried a couple different things. We don't have a formal plan on that though. So I don't know. We're in a ticket discussion for next year period, just on how to make tickets more affordable and give access to people on the island. But I think it's a bigger problem than just the seniors. I think it's actually, I mean, it's what Sarah spoke to. It's the local, just island community in general. So I think we're hoping that either our Flex Pass or subscription is also going to open that up again, because we've been able to successfully provide tickets at prices that they were prior to my tenure even. So yeah, that's the not great answer on that, but
Okay.
it's a work in progress. At least it's a discussion that we're having as an organization, I should say.
Okay, any more discussion? Any objections? Okay, this application has been moved to the funding pile. Our next application,
I'll be recusing on this application as well.
okay, thank you, Michael. The next application is from Emma Young. Is that correct? Did I
No,
miss-
you've got the White Heron one.
We need to discuss.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk about Emma Young anytime.
Well, I just in terms of the Young Playwrights Festival, I like that it's a large number. I mean, 85 is a larger number than we've seen in a lot of these other youth, some of the other youth applications. So I like the outreach that they have, and I also think it's a very small amount of money compared to the budget that they're.
I'm sorry, but it is just 15 participants, is that correct?
Oh, did I read that wrong?
I think it's 85 served, but participants is 15. Not that I dislike, I think it's a wonderful program.
Oh,
but-
I understand what you're saying. I'm sorry, Sarah, you're right.
So we're talking about the White Heron Theater Company, and their ask is $1,000. The discipline is theater. It's for the 2022 Nantucket Young Playwrights Festival, which will happen in spring of 2022 at the White Heron Theater. The number of people served is 85. Will primarily serve school children. And again, discussion has been opened on this application.
Well, I'll start off with saying that, and in general, I support any kind of program that has youth instruction in the arts, especially, yeah, writing in particular is near and dear to my heart. So I think that's a great piece of this.
Yeah, I think this is awesome. It's not something I've heard of before. I don't know if it's new, to be honest. I didn't fully read it all, but it sounds really cool. I'm down. Can you tell I'm getting tired?
I think it's a great application because it speaks to playwriting. And I think that in theater, we sometimes don't address that, especially in the early ages. And to give kids the opportunity to do this and to know that that's a possibility in their life, I think is a great thing. And for them to influence others, I think is also part of this program. So I think it's a good application.
I will move to add it to the funding pile.
Do I get
Second.
a second? Thank you. And that, any objections on that application? That application will move to the funding pile. Our next application comes from Emma Young.
I will be recusing. Let me know if you have any
Thank you.
questions.
You
Thank
missed
you.
Matt, you missed Matt York.
Did we pass on that?
Yeah, but
On
you still
Matt?
gotta take the vote on the table.
Thank you. Thank you.
In the interest of time management, I'd like to move that we pass on the application for the highwaymen for this year.
I second that.
Any objections?
Okay, so be it. So that has been tabled. Our next application comes from Emma Young. The amount requested is $360. The project discipline is a craft discipline, which is the first craft discipline we've received in a while. And it's exploring creative use through sculpture. It will take place December 28th, 29th, 30th of 2021 from 10 to 11:30 a.m. It will take place at the Nantucket Creative Reuse. It will serve 12 people, primarily school children. And youth served will be 12. Do I have any, I open this application up for discussion. And again, I just want to note this program is free, which I love that. I love when financial barriers are dissolved. So.
I agree, Jordana.
Don't tell Emma, but I think we should just give her all the money right now. I think this is
Right?
Totally
a
agree.
great,
I
really
agree.
creative application program. I love it.
Perfect. So do I have a first on moving this to the funding pile?
I will first.
Second?
Second,
Great. And that is all of the applications have been discussed. We have moved to our funding pile.
Could we take a 2-minute break?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay,
Yes.
I need a bathroom break.
That would be great.
Great.
All
thanks.
right.
I could pause the recording. Want me to do that?
Perfect. Perfect. All right, we'll meet back here at, how about
Do we need
2:55?
to vote to do that, or are we able to just take the break?
How much longer do we think we're gonna go?
I would say no longer than an hour.
Do you
now,
think
For sure.
we
I
can
think- I
take a
think we're-
Slightly longer break for like a snack, because I made the mistake of not eating lunch before this. If we're gonna, so we're not gonna rush through, or do we all want to smash it out?
Would you all be open to the idea of moving some of the agenda items to another future meeting? And just finishing the award grants today?
Yes.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
either
Can I
pause
make-
it for like an actual break or going to another day would work best for me, because we've been sitting for 2 hours.
could I make a motion that we move award ceremony discussion, logo and future meeting dates to a future meeting date?
Second,
Any objections? So is moved.
Okay,
So
so are we
we'll-
still gonna take a longer break or are we taking a 2-minute break here?
What about just till 3 o'clock? It gives us 8 minutes.
I like that.
That sounds good. Is that good, Ava? 8 minutes better than 2?
I'm in my office, so I'll make it work.
Oh.
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks.
All right, since there's no objections, we're going to pause the meeting till 3 p.m.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Pausing now.
Thank you.
Recording.
Emma, is that your mother I see in the background?
Yes, she's working for me today. Janet says hi.
Bye.
I was
So
really busy
good.
yesterday, so I was like, if I'm gonna be sitting here in the meeting, I need someone to work, and I've had like 2 people come in,
Oh,
less than that. It's good though, perfect timing. Okay, I did start the recording at 3, so just so you know.
So I'd like to call this meeting back to order. If we could just go around with a roll call, that would be great. Present, Jordana Fleischute. Next,
Michael Kopko here.
Justin Cherney here.
Tony Wagner here.
Emma Young here.
Sarah Ellis here.
is Ava back yet?
I don't think so.
she disappeared.
Okay. I call this meeting to order. We're going to discuss the applications that we have placed in our funding pile. What we will do is we'll go through each application. We'll have a limited discussion. And then we will talk about the amount. Basically, dividing the amount between these applications and talking about any concerns that we have that still need to be discussed. So the first application is from the Senior Citizen Center for the Art Class Tuition Aid and Education Program. And the ask is $2,900.
Jordana, could I make a comment / suggestion?
Yes.
In the past, sometimes we've started with the smaller asks as a way to kind of do some lower hanging fruit. Would anyone be interested in doing it that way again?
That makes sense to me, but
Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
And can we agree on which ones have come out of the pile, just so we can kind of lop them out?
Yeah, and do a big single vote on them.
Yeah, Janet, could you do a review of what we have?
Yes, you have tabled Alex Left, Cycle of Memory, Lower Cape Community Access TV, the Duo Pianists, and Matt York.
I agree that that makes sense, that, yeah, you want to do the lower hanging fruit first, but I feel like it might be best to order them based on what we like the most, not on what people are asking for, because it's, any of these contributions is still a substantial percentage of the amount of money we have to work with. So it makes sense to me that we would want to support the things we believe in the most. And obviously, yes, they have to have a reasonable ask. Does anyone else kind of think that way in terms of this?
Yeah, that does make sense.
Because I think there are people banking on like, oh, well, I only asked for $500 or $600, so like I'll get it. But like if they're getting that instead of an organization that we're offering that we believe a lot more in, that wants a couple $1,000s, it seems money misspent to me.
Maybe we could have people, someone could just shoot out one that they are really pushing for, and we could start there.
One that they love.
I pushed for Emma Young.
I second that.
Perfect. I think it's a very reasonable ask for a project that I think will have great impact, supporting a new small business. I would tend to fund it completely.
I agree.
Yep.
Yep.
Can I get a first on that, please?
First,
And a second?
And
Any objections? So we're funding fully Emma Young at $360. We have a second application. I will call out the senior citizen art class and tuition program. The amount requested is $2,500.
I agree, and I wonder, like, do we start at like 1,000 and then, I mean, because I feel like this is when I
think
would be
that's
tempted to
fair.
say
I
we
think-
fund the whole.
I think
But-
put we'll discuss a couple organizations, and if we feel it's at 1,000, we'll put 1,000. And then we'll see where we are at the end, see how many are in that pile.
Mhm.
And in the meantime, we'll go through and discuss others.
I second that. I think I definitely want to give them some money, but that is over a quarter of the budget we have for
Yes.
everybody. So let's just earmark it as something we definitely want to contribute to.
Perfect.
I have a spreadsheet set up automatically to keep a running tally on how much we have left, so.
Excellent. So we're working with $9,293. We've already gifted 360. We've talked about the Artist Association going in a fundable pile.
Can we talk
Um,
about the music center?
Perfect.
Is that? Again, I mean, I know we all, yeah. We're not having to discuss why we like them. We're just discussing what we're funding.
Perfect. So this is application.
So are we plugging in 1,500 there?
what,
Justin, do you want to make a motion for like how much you think?
Oh, sure. Sorry, I need to pull.
So in the meantime, I'm gonna go to the second application that I'm just gonna go down the line. So it's the Cape Verdean documentary. They have requested $750. This is from the Cape Cod Verdean Museum and Cultural Center.
I would make a motion to fund half of that.
So 375.
375. And the reason being is
yeah.
they've reached out to other cultural councils, Emma?
Yeah, I think that we think it fits our mission and our values, but because they've reached out to some other funders.
Good point.
We want to support them, but we don't necessarily have the budget for the whole thing.
Could we just ask, in terms of having them find somewhere, as Michael suggested, it'll probably be quite easy, but somewhere on island?
Absolutely. I think that's totally fair in the conditions, conditional, that I'll ask that they formalize and maybe even provide, is Amy still doing, who's doing programming at the library now?
Actually, Janet Forrest is taking over for Amy, and I'm not sure at which point, at which date that's happening, but.
Okay. I can always reach out to her and have her reach out to them. And then that way it's an open arm. And it's something that if she doesn't want, we can kibbutz it right there. So I'll reach out to her and I'll put it in the conditional information. If we so move to fund them at any level. Emma has moved that we fund them at half, so half of 750.
And this is for,
the number 2 application, which is the Cape Verdean documentary project.
right, and we're proposing 375.
That's correct.
Okay,
So Emma made I second Emma's.
Okay, so any objections? So right now in the funding pile, we have the Cape Verdean documentary at $375.
Can we go back to the music center, Jordana? Is that
Absolutely.
okay?
Absolutely.
Hey, Tony, I just have a quick question. Can you refresh, is there a tuition for the?
So this is application number 9.
No charge.
I mean,
Excellent.
I would move at least 750, but I mean, I tend to move to say 1500 and then see where we are. I mean, I know we're burning through this quickly, but I don't know what other people, I'd love to hear what other people think.
can I make a suggestion, Jordy?
Mhm.
So I'm keeping track on a spreadsheet of how much we're allocating, and it's
Right.
automatically giving us how much we have left.
Right?
So if we plug in numbers for everybody, we can kind of follow where we are and then kind of go back and make adjustments as we need to.
Great.
And if you want me to share this screen so people can follow along, that might make it easier for folks.
So if you could let us know, so we've funded 360 and 373. What are we at now?
Right now, we are at, let me change screens, 8558 we have left.
And
85.
at least 1,000 for what Jordana put.
Artist Association.
Artist
Mhm.
Association.
I like the idea
Factor that in,
of
Michael,
Sorry?
could we factor in like 1,000 for Artist Association?
For Artists Association, okay, let me find them. Artists Association, 1,000.
Thank you for doing that, Michael.
You
I
want?
like the idea of Michael sharing his screen. Do we want to try that?
It'll make it easy for everybody
Sure.
to follow along.
Sure.
I think you should be able to let me know if it doesn't work.
Okay, let me try. Can everybody see that okay?
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, excellent. So we are discussing the music school at current, and the ask is 1,500. May I open up further discussion on application number 9 from the Nantucket Community Music Center? This is the Early Childhood Music and Movement Program. I move that we move it into our at least 1,000 pile.
Okay, and this is which one, say again?
This is the Nantucket Community Music Center.
Yeah,
This is the music and movement for the very young, I think.
And it's a free program. And it'll benefit parents and their parents or caregivers. All right, the next application is the Nantucket Narwhal from Rebecca Chapa. The budget is 10,000, the ask is 10,000.
can we hold that one for later?
Yes. Can I get a second on that?
Second.
Any objections? Okay, the Nantucket Narwhal application number 3 is being held for further discussion after funding, after we go through the list. Number 4 is Living in a Dream. The people who make Nantucket. This is John Abolai. His budget is 500 and his ask is 500.
I like that one, you guys. Does anyone know him personally? I don't. I looked him up.
I
though.
do. I'm gonna refrain
Okay.
from
Who's
voting.
the
I
one you're
think.
gonna refrain from?
Yeah, I mean, I could just tell you that he is very involved in the arts and culture here. He helps to run the open mic night and does stand up and learn with the comedy festival.
Well,
Yep.
unless there's some reason for us not to take him seriously, I like the idea that he was going to go around interviewing Nantucketers and make a kind of comedic take on things, because I think often we get very serious. And I thought this sounded kind of fun.
I think
And
that's right.
just to go back, this was the one where it was mostly for equipment, and we thought funding a membership at the NCTV might be a better.
Right. So I
Gotcha.
did the
He's
quick
going to
math.
use that equipment past this. I understand.
What
Yeah.
about,
I looked at the quick math on that, and he's $100 for, I'm sorry, it's $100 for contractors, $50 for editing, $32 for other fees for the interviewees. So that sounds like 182. And then $70 for the membership would bring him.
Wait, Tony, you just muted yourself. What'd you say?
252.
Okay, so could we consider giving him that,
I'm all about that.
Okay.
right?
I say yes.
And it also makes sense. Thanks for doing that back end numbers there.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And then that way we support him and plug him into NCTV, and who knows what he can do there.
And we give him some accountability, so he's gonna go do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Okay, so I have a first. Do I have a second on this?
I'm sorry, what was the total amount? 252? Is that correct?
Yeah.
250.
Jordana, let me make another suggestion if I can.
Sure.
Rather than taking a vote on every number, let's just plug a bunch of numbers in and massage it for a while, and then we can vote on the final numbers.
Okay, is that okay with everyone else?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. So our next application is number 8, Stand Up and Learn, Nantucket Comedy Festival. They've asked for, the budget is 8,100. They've asked for 5,000.
Let's just plug in 1,000 again, like for that, and then see where I mean, obviously we know we're gonna be
Second.
over.
Any objections? Okay, great. Number 9, the Early Childhood Music and Movement, we've already voted on. Number 10 is the Young Art and Explorers Program through the Nantucket Community School. The budget is 1460. The requested amount was 1460.
I moved to give them 1,000.
I guess I would move to give them half of the ask until we get through more applications, but that's my,
That sounds reasonable. 1,000 is going to be tough by the time we get to the bottom of the list here, I think. So 730,
30.
730,
Mhm.
is that right?
So 730 allocated to number 10. Number 11 is Whaler Media from the Nantucket Community Television. The budget is 17,000. The ask is 5,000.
So would we say 1,000 to that just because we agreed that it was not to be tabled, it was something worthy? Or what is someone else's thought?
I agree with Sarah. I think we plug in 1,000 and then we go back.
I agree. Perfect. Number 12 is the Dreamland Stage Company production of The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane. The budget's 24,500. The ask is 2,500.
For the sake of consistency, I would say we put 1,000 in also.
1,000?
And then we
Sure.
discuss those.
Sounds
Great.
good.
Great. Number 13 is designing the aircraft of the future. The budget is 6,000. The ask is 600.
I would motion to fund the whole thing.
I would second that. I love this application.
Any objections? Okay, great. Number 13, we're funding for $600. Number 14 is the Liza Show, episode 2. The budget's 1,300. The ask is 1,000.
I would suggest starting with 500 for this one.
I agree with Emma on that.
I think she's saying she needs 1,000 for the whole episode, so I think we don't necessarily have to do the whole thing. She could find other sources.
Right. Any objections? Okay, number 14 is, number 15 is the multicultural awareness for children through Small Friends on Nantucket. The budget is 1,202 and the ask is 1,000. And we had discussion on the table about that application and the equipment involved and the 100% absolute funding that it asked for in the application.
And were you able to reach her?
Yeah, I would propose we tried to reach out to her now.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna, how do I leave this meeting? I need to call her on the same phone that I'm on. Is anyone able to get, I'm on the phone. So I can't call from this phone. And I don't have,
I could call her.
and I don't have another phone? Yes, let me look it up.
The number should be right on the application.
Mhm.
I got so many screens open. That one's not anywhere near
It's-
close.
It's 228-1891, Janet.
And what's her first name?
Janet
Janet.
McGra-
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, no, that's okay.
Jacqueline or Jackie?
Jackie McGrady. Okay, I'll put you on mute.
What's the next one?
The next one is the Nantucket Book Foundation. The Visiting Author Program, the budget is 10,850 and the ask is 850.
So could we
I
agree?
would make a motion.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead, Sarah.
17.
No, please, you go.
Yep,
I think maybe 500.
I
I
would
was gonna actually make a motion that we pass on this application for this year. And if you want to discuss it, that's fine too.
I guess I would disagree, Michael, only because I think it has such an emphasis on the multilingual programming at the school. And I feel like what we were discussing before with looking toward that and funding things like that, that this is, it just seems like it's a really strong application and a really strong visit by this author. So
Yeah.
that's my feeling.
Okay.
I would second Emma, maybe with $500. I'd like to make some impact. They do have other funding as long as it doesn't go towards travel. Our next, any objections, any discussion? Our next application is costumes for Christmas Carol from Theater Workshop of Nantucket. The budget is $66,105. The ask is for $2,000 for costumes.
Let's throw 1,000 in there.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Our next is the 2022 Nantucket Young Playwrights Festival from White Heron Theater Company. The budget is $13,000. The ask is $1,000. And this is our last application besides Small Friends, which we're investigating, and Rebecca Chapa, who we've put on the side to discuss after.
I think throw in 1,000 like we've done for the others.
Do I get a sec? Do I have a second?
Yeah, I agree. That's right.
Perfect. Okay. Okay. So that's where we are right now. And again,
Okay.
we're reaching out, Janet's reaching out to Jackie McGrady of Small Friends.
And I've spoken with her,
Okay.
and she
Thank
says
you,
they
Jan.
will spend whatever they can get. So I don't know why she wrote that in there, but they'll use some of their own money and they'll look for other sources.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you, Janet.
You're welcome.
All right,
Glad we
taking
checked.
that information into consideration, let's open up discussion on the Small Friends application.
So would we maybe meet her at 500, just since that's half, and that would be at the lower end? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that sounds reasonable. I mean, especially looking at where we are now. I mean, we're gonna be taking away from things.
I would second that, that request for half.
I do want to point out that my office has a program that can provide some funding for some of these 501c3s. And I can reach out to them once these letters go out.
Well, that's
Wonderful.
fantastic.
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you, Janet.
The taxpayer.
Let's revisit the application from Rebecca Chapa for the Nantucket Narwhal. I open discussion on this application.
I'm torn with this. I think she's a new applicant and it's a good idea to support new artists, but I'm also just kind of inclined to pass because I don't know that our funding would, like, it's not really sectioned out enough that we could say this funding would be useful unless we give her a really large chunk, which we just don't have.
Right.
I know that, when we've been turned down for grants in the past, sometimes we get some really great feedback from the granting authority on what a successful grant might look like next time. And maybe that's something we can do for Rebecca.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, because the program as it's written, it's difficult to see how a small amount will make an impact given the program, but had it been written a little bit differently or sectioned out like Michael's saying, I think that would make a big difference. But like Emma, I'm inclined to pass this time around just because I don't see how an impact could be made with a smaller amount.
So we'll vote on Rebecca Chapa. Do I have a first to table this application? Or would you like to discuss it further?
I move to table it.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Okay, we'll table that application and ask her to apply for next year. So this is where we are. We need to even up by 1524.
that's really close. Congratulations, everybody. I think
Yeah.
you did a great job.
One, two, three, four, 1, 2.
So I guess our consideration now is if we want to remove any projects or reduce, is that correct?
Correct. Seeing that we're 1524 and we have 7 organizations we're giving $1,000 to, is that correct?
Yes.
If we split the difference between the 1524 between 7, what does the math on that look like, Michael?
7, well, it's a 200. If we get changed all of those to 800, let's see where we are.
Perfect.
Oh,
That's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
I wonder if like some of them that were 1,000, we gave them half. So maybe we make like White Heron, they asked 1,000, maybe we go 500. But I'm also wondering, do we want to do it more based on like the percentage of how much how much they need, or based on just the number amount?
One thing we might consider that might work neatly is just grab that 124 from the Cape Verdean movie. As it sounds like a lot of people are going to be chipping in on that. And that it balances right out.
That's exactly where I was.
Oh.
So if this was what is it, 251?
I guess,
I would take $50 from the Book Foundation and $50 from Elizabeth Obremski. And that would be my 100, and I'd take 24 from the Cape Verdean Museum because we're not giving them a lot to begin with.
So 50 from Liza, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jordana, I like that because those are programs that we've funded before.
Right.
And what was the other one, Jordy?
The Book Foundation.
Book Foundation, where are they? Here they are.
may I just ask, my only concern is, of course, the senior art program, which I think is so incredibly important since we do fund so many kids programs and family programs. And I just was hoping we could maybe increase, since we did allocate a significant amount more last year, which was still under their ask. And if it's possible, I think it was like the Flying Association, which I think is an amazing program, but we agreed to fund their total amount of 600, and maybe we could take a couple hundred, meet them at a 2/3 amount, put a little bit more into the senior art program. I don't know if there's anywhere else that anyone feels we could just bump things down even more for some of the programs that we're giving them close to their total amount.
I'm sorry, I might have missed, was there follow-up on the Small Friends to get in touch with her?
yes, I talked to Jackie and they said they would spend whatever they got, they would use, and then probably we have
Okay.
for more.
Okay, great. My only thought on the art for seniors, they've been doing it for a long time. That doesn't necessarily mean like we shouldn't give them more, but it's not like it's a new program, but obviously it's very successful because they keep doing it. I do also want to keep in mind that there's another program that is working with the Artists Association. I know that their grant wasn't directly for the Artists Association and it's a different population, but I think that could be kind of important to keep in mind.
The Artists Association also, I think, has a number of other funding sources that can backfill some of this stuff that other organizations might not have.
Yeah, the trouble with that though is that we don't really know which organization, like we only kind of know that anecdotally. I just want to be careful of thinking that way because a lot of these places, especially if they're nonprofits, have access to other grants. and stuff.
Well, so in terms of the Artists Association affiliated grants, there's the Young Art Explorers and then the Senior Art Program. And the Art Explorers serves 8 clients and is about 1,500 or 1,460. We've agreed to give them 730, which is half of their budget. And then the Senior Program serves 25 people, 25 seniors. It just seems to me that if we can give them anything more, I agree that the Artists Association has other funding, but I also agree that that's
Hey,
somewhat
they're down in the studio.
anecdotal type of information. So
Studio.
I'm just gonna keep pushing for the seniors.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you're right, proportionate of our funding, K
They
to
can
12.
come in here, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, where can we take that from?
I think somebody, I can't recall who made the suggestion of perhaps taking $200 from the Artists Association and moving that over to the senior program.
Michael, can you mute, please?
Can I make an observation about the Artists Association 2 grants? One is that you have funded the senior program for a while, and it's general practice that once a program's been funded for a while, it should become part of the standard operating budget or incorporated into what they normally do. The other one is that other program with the community school is a collaboration, and in the new cultural district guidelines, the focusing on collaborations, new programming, and on DEI issues is a key element of the district's goals.
Thanks,
Excellent.
Jenna. I didn't know
Thank you.
that about the kind of, it should be absorbed into standard operating. And if that is the truth, I do think we should focus more on newer programming, at least for this year, because we have so many applicants. Because it's different every year depending on how many and what the budget is.
And they tweak their programming every year to kind of notch it up, so it's not the same as it was before. So they do change. It is the crux of the program for sure, but they do change it every year so they can apply for this funding option. But it is a good thing to note. I do believe in programming for seniors, so I'm going to be an advocate for this one.
Sorry, did I miss any changes? Yeah.
No, we're just looking at the numbers,
Okay.
and
The
Sarah,
Stand Up
did
and
you
Learn
have-
kids just arrived.
we brought up maybe increasing funding. There's discussion on the floor about just increasing funding for the Artists Association. And Janet had spoke on that. Did you hear that, Michael?
Yeah. I missed Janet's rationale. What was that all about?
Well, they've been funded by this organization for several years, and it's been my experience that after a couple of years, a funding organization expects the organization to be having incorporated the program into their standard operating budget.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah, did you have an idea of how much more you would want to give to Artists Association, where you might want that to come from? Because that could help us decide.
Okay, well, it just, I think what we had looked at before was the fact that we were very close to, sorry. You know, honestly, the only thing I can think is that we bring down the community school ask a little bit more. But I understand that, you know, even though that's through the Artists Association, it isn't the same application. I'm just be stubborn in the sense that I think, especially after these last couple of years, that having any support, any application that deals with seniors is really important to me.
I
What
guess, sorry, go ahead.
What if we took $230 off the $730 allocated for the Nantucket Community School and make that a $500 gift, and put actually just take 200, keep the 30 there, and then the Artists Association would be our top
That would
funding
be
recipient.
so lovely, personally.
Yep,
That
I
would
was
be
going to suggest the same thing, Jordana. Just shave 200 off the community school and put it in the Artists Association. Shall we do
I
that?
agree with that.
Any objections? Excellent.
Yeah, I
I'd like,
think that's great. And then we can, the rationalization for that is that it's the only one that's directly supporting seniors.
I open up any discussion on the list. I now put the list forward for voting.
I would move that we approve the grants as listed here now.
I second that.
Any objections? So noted, these grants have been accepted by the council for the amounts noted.
You want me to email this around or something?
Yes,
Oh,
that would be
yes,
fantastic.
please.
Right.
Nice job, guys.
Janet,
that
thank
was
you
a
so much
tricky
for
job.
writing.
Well done.
Emma, thank you for all you did to organize this meeting and for all the organization.
Totally. And I'll move the stuff that we voted to move on to a new agenda. And actually, do we have just a couple minutes to look at maybe scheduling our next meeting while we're all in the same room?
I think that's a great idea. Emma, can you put a date out?
Yeah, let's I mean, would the December 14th work, or do we want to kind of skip over Christmas time?
I'm not available on the 14th or the 15th, or the week before that. So I don't know, it gets a little dicey. But I
I
don't
would
want to,
say either the 16th or sometime in January. Is anyone available, or is everyone available on the 16th?
Yes.
December?
Yes.
Yep.
Thursday?
I'm
Mhm.
available.
yes.
Could we do Thursday at 1 on Zoom?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. I'll put together an agenda for that. And if anyone has anything to add besides what we already moved from today's agenda, send me an email and I'll get our Zoom approval.
Excellent. I'm now going to open up the meeting to public comment.
Did you say 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock, Emma, for the?
1 o'clock?
I now open up the meeting to public comment.
May I ask a clarifying point? Will you be notifying these recipients in the next 2 weeks, or is this the part where it has to go to the state first?
So, excellent question. So what happens now is I write a letter to the applications that the council denied funding to. They have 14 days from the postmark date of the letter to object. If they do object, we have to reconvene the council and discuss their application as to why we didn't fund it. That has not happened. That does not mean it could not happen. So having the December 14th date is an excellent opportunity if it does happen, to give us a window to discuss that. I believe all of the paperwork needs to be done by the 12th of January this year. So we will be, we'll definitely we'll have it completed by the end of the year. So what happens after the 14 days? If we don't receive anything, then I am able to send out letters to the applicants that received an award. And then they can begin that process. They can ask for the reimbursement of those awards as early as January 1st, 2021. The reimbursement happens after the projects are completed. And then and there is a process in the state where they may be moving to a different process where when we give out the money, that's it. They don't have to follow back up with us. They don't have to ask for it after the project is done. The accountability would be more local as opposed to what it is now.
So would I be embargoed from talking to any of these cultural organizations about another grant opportunity that I might have for them?
I don't believe so.
Talk, Janet, talk.
Well, I've
I
already
don't
been to
believe so.
everybody, but I haven't had a big
I think
response.
I think that's great news for any of the organizations, and you can just say that you know that they've applied for a cultural council grant.
And then after 14 days after the denial letters go out is when we send out the the approval letters, correct?
Correct. I will send those letters tomorrow. So they'll be postmarked with tomorrow's date. So 14 days from tomorrow's date, I will be able to send out the approval letters.
Thank you.
And I just sent the list out to everybody, but I just kind of replied all to Emma's last email. So the subject will say November 30th meeting or whatever, but
Perfect.
the list is attached to that email.
Perfect. I want to thank, before we adjourn, I want to thank everybody for their time and reading through the panel book and really giving all applications your full consideration and openness. I think we did some really great work. We funded more applications than we've ever been able to fund. And I just want to thank you for your time. Thank you, Janet, for taking all the notes from this meeting. And thank you, Emma, for organizing everything. And for everyone else on the council, thank you for all you do to support the arts and culture. It's really important.
Huge thanks to you, Jordana.
Yeah,
Yes.
this was a really awesome meeting. And I'm glad we have momentum to keep meeting and keep working on some projects.
Me too. It's exciting.
Let's
Yeah.
go get more money from somebody, from the state, from everybody. We got to
There's
give
more-
away more money.
Yeah, there's more money in our account, but we have to see how all of our COVID spending falls out. And I'd like to put some money towards working with the cultural district and really propelling our mission and as we have talked about. So I think exciting things are on the horizon, and thank you everyone for your hard work.
One more quick thing. Does everyone receive the emails from Timothea? She's our rep at Mass Cultural.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm that everyone gets those. And thank you, Janet, for updating all the emails.
Thank you so much. So I'd like to conclude this meeting of the Nantucket Cultural Council. Again, we have put the next meeting on our schedule. The date again, Emma, is Thursday,
December 16th at 1 p.m.
at 1 p.m. The
Yep.
council will meet again and we'll discuss the remaining issues that were tabled from this agenda due to time. And thank you so much for your hard work on this. I will keep everyone informed after the 14 days passes to let you know that you can speak to your friends and family about these awards.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you so much.
Bye,
I'm
everyone.
gonna end the recording.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.